So come on, let's go get your story straight, then we'll get to your reasons why. It was good, it was fun, it was free, it was nice, but I've turned to a villain with time. Jealousy don't look good on me. Jealousy don't look good on me. Stop thinking jealousy. Am I alone with a wedding mask? It might be cold when you're by yourself. If I erupt, it's 'cause I need you. Say it away, I don't want it. It's simple. What the hell is wrong? Just so easy to see what was always gonna say.
Bit going on.
Another iron block.
Iron blockers.
This one's destined eventually for some nitrous,
Ooh.
maybe.
Some giggle gas.
Either way to start with, this one's going to be like, what do we work out? 12.5-ish, high 12-ish to 1 compression,
Big coat.
6 litre thing, be on E85, so it should make some pretty decent grunt. And it's got a monstrous cam for it.
Righto guys, welcome to our latest little build series. So this one, owner has a VX Clubsport.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So VX Clubby, and he bought us just his engine, pulled down in parts, all of the parts he had set aside for this engine that he was going to build for this car, and he basically just wanted what he wanted. Now he already supplied a crank, rods and pistons. They were Manly rods and Marl pistons,
crank.
Eagle crank. So
Eagle crank and rods, they're I-beam.
Eagle I-beam rods.
And it was Marl pistons.
Marl pistons. So it's all stuff that we wouldn't normally pick or choose as our first preference to build an engine, and just LS1 block that came out of the car. So what he wanted was pretty angry, big cammed LS nitrous on E85, and for what he wanted to do, the pistons that he had weren't really high enough compression to, as you guys know, we've harped on about it all the time, with E85 and LS in aspirated situations, it's not a huge advantage, and you don't get huge power gains because there's only so much compression you can get, well, in stock LS there's only so much compression you can get into them without upgrading pistons. So to go E85 and get any decent gains, you really need a really high compression. But that was only problem number one. We actually sent the block down to start getting machined for all this stuff, and what had happened is the engine had let go at some point, and the rod had smashed the bottom of a bore and cracked the liner. So the block was sort of no good. It had to get new liners and stuff anyway. It was not the best thing for us to be using for a customer build. So what we ended up doing, what we thought was the best option, was sourcing a Gen 3 6-litre iron block. So this is an LQ4. I'll come in here and talk, guys, because it's too loud out there. So that's
It's also a lot cooler in here.
that's a LQ4 Gen 3 iron 6-litre block. So the advantage of that obviously is going back into a Commodore, which is Gen 3 to start with. We still have all of the provisions for Gen 3 NOx sensors and all the other stuff that comes with general Gen 3 things. So it is getting harder to source Gen 3 iron blocks, because particularly our importer, Soham Custom and Supply there on the north side of Brisbane. So huge shout out to them guys. Luke there is a complete G. We get a lot of iron blocks from him. Here's an iron block from him. That's an iron block from him. So yeah, we get a lot of iron blocks from him. So he is starting to see Gen 3 stuff less and less, just because it's getting to that age over in the States where it's just getting too far gone. So it is actually, he just happened to have a Gen 3 one there, so we snatched it up. So what we've got there is a Gen 3 6-litre, and because we went to 6-litre, we had to get new pistons anyway, so it was a great excuse for us to go to some really high compression pistons, which is awesome. So it's going to be just a really high compression 6-litre iron block build with a monstrous cam, and eventually, like Rex was saying, some giggle gas to get it moving. So just going to be a good fun big comp aspirated thing, which we're really all about. We really like them. Unfortunately, it will still be 4L60, so we'll just see how that goes and how long it lasts for. But the other thing is the customer supplied aftermarket heads, and we did try and get them CNC'd, but the place we sent them to get CNC'd, the aftermarket casting that they are they wouldn't CNC them because they weren't confident that the port walls had enough meat on them to run their CNC program and not damage the heads. So unfortunately, not CNC'd heads, just stock port, whatever aftermarket heads they are. They're supposed to be equivalent to 243s, which obviously flow a bit better than 241s anyway. So hopefully they still flow plenty adequately enough for us. But yeah, looking forward to it. Just a stock stroke, 6 litre, high compression, E85 big cam for L60. We'll see what it does. So again, guys, the customer supplied pretty much all of the engine parts for this build. We haven't really had to supply anything, and a lot of it is not stuff that would be our first pick. So just keep that in mind as you watch us build this engine. We're just using what was supplied as best we can because we don't want to cost the customer any more money than he's already paid. But not all of it is obviously our first choice. None of it's particularly bad. Obviously, we wouldn't be here even if a customer supplied something that we thought was trash. We still wouldn't put it in an engine, even if they swore black and blue. We'd give it back to them before we did that. So none of it's bad. It's just none of it's particularly our first choice of gear. But we're keen for this one. It's going to be exciting. Anyway, as you can see, Rex has got this block masked up, and we're going to paint it up. It's going to be the first things first. Paint her up. Righto, guys. Rex is cracking along with this engine, just getting, you know, bearing clearances, everything else. Interestingly enough, a lot of these came in a little too tight. So we've had to order some oversized bearings. So a lot of bearing manufacturers make an oversize, a 1 thou over, which is designed or intended for high RPM, high performance engines. So we're gonna have to get a set of those just because the standard size bearings come in a little bit too tight. So we've got our Eagle crank, Eagle rods. We have compared these Eagle rods to like standard Gen 4 LS rods, and they are almost identical. Like so similar, but obviously you have the advantage of huge screw caps, much bigger screw caps than ARP hardware, which you obviously don't get with the LS rods, and you can't really use properly or in a proper sense on an LS rod just because they're a cracked cap. So if you upgrade to ARP hardware, what you should be doing for it to be right is resizing the rod to suit the extra clamping force. But because they're a cracked cap, you can't resize the rods. So it's a bit of a gray area. A lot of people just do it anyway. They just whack ARP hardware in them. But, you know, in order for it to be right, in the right sense, you're supposed to resize the rod, but you can't do it. But anyway, so they're a really nice rod. That being said, they look identical to a Gen 4 LS rod, but they could be a bit thicker through this center of the I-beam there. But either way, honestly not a bad rod for the money. Yeah, not bad at all. These Wiseco pistons are actually quite nice. These are real nice. So we ordered these to suit the compression we wanted in this engine, obviously because we were going 6 litre. So the 5.7 pistons that were supplied are now going to be spares. But happy days. Just waiting for new bearings to get in now pretty much, and then it can start going together. I think Rex will move on to ring gaps now. But yeah, apart from obviously what you can see here, Gen 3 iron, Eagle rods, Eagle crank, Wiseco pistons, ARP hardware. So yeah, all coming along sweet. Everything's coming up Millhouse. So I'll just go through with you the cam that's going in this thing, because it is freaking monstrous. It's gonna be awesome. Even though we've got these massive valve reliefs, Rex is still going to do a piston to valve check, because yeah, the valve reliefs are quite big, but with the size of this cam, we're still going to do some piston to valve checks. It's a real shame that we couldn't get CMC ported heads for this engine, because I reckon they would have gone really well. But if you chuck down here and look at the cam, so it's actually a Crocam's 1253. So yeah, 1253. It's quite large. I'll show you the cam card. Let's have a look, eh? All right, Crocam's 1253. So at 50, we've got a 245, 262. Frig me sideways, faggot undies. So it's on a 114 lobe, and for lift we got 615 and 615 with our standard 1.7 ratio LS rockers. So yeah, quite a angry camshaft, big cam. So Rex actually worked out that with that cam, the dynamic compression ends up coming down to like 8 point something. So with this cam and these pistons, even though the static comp's gonna be freaking, I can't even remember what we worked. Big static comp. You could probably still run this engine on 98. You probably could still, because of this cam being so large and the dynamic compression being so low with it. But anyway, that doesn't matter because it's going on dedicated E85. That's why we went for so much compression. But yeah, this thing's gonna be monstrous. So as well as that engine combination, with this cam. It's going to have a wholly high-rise forward facing. I'll show you. So these are his heads that I was talking about. Rex is just having a look now. So yeah, they're aftermarket casting. They have no casting numbers, as you can see. So they're brand spanking new. Oh, they got those. Yep. Yeah, so they're brand spanking. And yeah, unfortunately, the guys down there at Tremaniac at Next Gen Engineering weren't comfortable running their CNC program through the heads because they don't know how much meat they have on the port walls, which is completely fair enough. We totally understand that. So it's not worth the risk of obviously damaging the heads. That's what we've got, CalFlow Performance. So they're CalFlow heads, but they're meant to be the equivalent of a 243, which as we know, flows a little bit better than, you know, 241 does anyway. But yeah, it would have been nice to have them CNC'd, but what do you do? So this is poly high-rise intake manifold. And yeah, these things are gonna be sending a lot of 4L60s to the grave, I tell you that much. Plenty of 4L60s gonna get broken, so we'll see how long that lasts before he wants to go turbo 400. So these are the valves that he then supplied, which, I don't know, we may end up doing like a 3-angle valve job on at the very least. But yeah, brand new valves there. Yeah. All right, guys, so cracking along here. See, the heads are all cleaned up at the moment for now. We thought we had some more bearing glue, but we are run out, so we're waiting for some of that to get here on Friday so that we can check the contact on the valve and then do a 30-angle back cut or back grind on the intake valve. So wait until that gets here to do that. Rex has just been doing some other clearancing and things like that while we wait for our new bearings that we're waiting for. Rex has degreed the cam in, so the cam's been degreed in. It degreed in fine. He also did piston to valve checks, and yeah, plenty of clearance, a lot more than we had thought, but obviously this monstrous cam, even though we had valve release in the pistons, it was a better idea to check it anyway. So sorry I wasn't here to actually film the process of those things happening. If anyone would like to actually know a bit more about how we do that, there are multiple videos on the channel of how that process goes about. A lot of engines that we actually fly cut to suit big cams on stock pistons. So if you want to go watch those sorts of videos, you'll get a really good idea of exactly how we do our piston to valve checks and everything else. But anyway, this is all looking good. So it should pretty much be at a point by the time our bearings get here that we need to finish doing the main clearances that are a bit tight with the new bearing shells and just start assembling the whole thing. So, yee-haw, what do you reckon, Flynn? Good job? Yeah, good job. So what are you doing here?
Washing stuff. Why?
Just like a dishwasher or something?
Yeah, I just miss being home.
That's what we need for the show. We need a dishwasher. Chuck all the pistons in a dishwasher. Pistons, rods, cranks. the budget hot wash.
Yeah.
Chuck the block in there.
Yeah, pull all the shelves out.
Yeah, pull the shells out, chuck the block in.
What if I told you the thrill of running a red light, chasing a recent bright memory through a bent pipe? When you get older, some just wanna hang five with the rest of a soldier on, sleeping on the tram line. What's the point if we can't escape the landmine? Sand slides faster each day, one day we can die. We'll just ignore it, let the revs chant. I burn laps around the sun for face first to the campfire.
Righto guys, so we're about as far with this bottom end as Rex can get at the moment until we wait for some more stuff to arrive. It's coming together pretty well with our extra set of bearings and being able to fish half shells. Rex managed to get the clearances all sweet.
I ended up using the whole set.
Whole series, yeah,
just
okay, just gone.
Whole one over,
Yep.
which brings them down to about from 2.2 to 2.5. So
Yeah, perfect. So he did supply an oil pump. We're not actually sure what it is. It's like a Mellings lookalike, but I don't think it is a Mellings.
nah.
But either way, it's back together now, so we won't show you. But there was a lot of casting dags and stuff in the housing that we weren't very happy with, and then the cover plate actually had like a dag on it that sort of sat right between the actual casting of the housing and the gear, and it was really, really strange. And to try and flatten it down would have meant pretty much grinding into that housing, which is the dynamic seal of the oil pump. And we just, for the cost of an oil pump, we just weren't comfortable just putting on the engine and putting that on this engine just because it was supplied. So we decided that can go back to the owner. Obviously, you guys know we pretty much exclusively use genuine GM pumps, and we've got some more on the way. So that one can go back to the owner. He can put it on the shelf or something. We're just going to put a pump that we know is good and familiar with on this engine. And so until that gets here, we're sort of not much else we can do. And then Rex is still waiting on the spring seats for the heads for the valve springs before the heads can go together. So yeah, basically at this stage, waiting on stuff now. We do have ones that are lifters in the back room. You could put lifters in it.
he supplied lifters.
Oh, that's right. He supplied lifters. Don't worry.
But
Never
it's,
mind.
It's going to, without the sump and everything, what's
Yeah,
going
it's
to do
gonna
is just
leak
leak
oil.
oil everywhere.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, we'll continue this when we get some more stuff, which should hopefully be later on this week. Righto guys, still just working through getting this engine together, getting these heads together. We're super not particularly that impressed with these heads. You can see where that spark plug actually ends up. That's actually, you know, in the head. So Rex has just put that in there so that he can see a chamber. Figure out what the chamber actually is so we can calculate the compression of this thing. And yeah, just there's a lot of things about this head we're not particularly stoked on. So keep that in mind for this engine. At the moment, obviously the customer just wants to get it together with what's here and get it in the car and get it running. But yeah, in future, if he wants to do any upgrades, that's going to be the first thing we're going to be looking at, is swap out these aftermarket heads for a pair of CNC ported 243s or 799s or something. So that'll be the plan. Rightio guys, so engine is more or less together. I missed most of it just because I've been sick and Rex has been getting it together. But there's nothing in this thing that you haven't already seen. Plenty more on the channel. I just thought I'd rip this cover off so I can give you a look at what's going on in here. Like I said a few times through this video, guys, a lot of the stuff we've used through this build is not stuff we'd normally get. A lot of it was customer supplied that we've tried to use as much as possible. There are a few things that we just went ahead and didn't use, like we talked about. But this trunnion kit is actually like a needle roller trunnion upgrade. It's called a Rev High trunnion kit. It doesn't seem to be too bad. We don't particularly like using needles. We usually go for the brush bush type, like the CHE, just for the fact of you have no issues having to worry about alignment. When it comes to needle rollers, there is a few issues trying to get things aligned properly, which is why we tend to stick to the CHE. But this seems to have gone together pretty well. We had to do a bit of fighting with these heads to get them right, but at the end of the day, it has all gone together. We are looking pretty good. I'll have to talk to Rex about what the final compression actually came out to and how this is looking, but yeah, it should go well in the Clubsport that it's going in. At this stage, it's now just get the car here, get the engine in it, and start going with it. So we'll pick this back up when we have a car here to get this engine into. Rightio, boys and girls, so the big 6 litre is just about ready to go in the car. We've been playing around with the manifolds and stuff. The car has been dropped off. We do have the car here now. I will show you the car. Boom. It's a red VT Clubby on some Bud Simmons. These boys are having fun. So the car was dropped off yesterday. So far we've been going through trying to figure out, obviously it's another one of those things where the car was pulled apart before we got it. We didn't pull it apart. So we had to go through and figure out what was here, what was missing, what we need to chase up. The other thing is the owner wants to convert the radiator and everything all to VZ so he can remove the expansion tank and just have an overflow bottle. It's much tidier in the engine bay to do that. He's got coil relocation brackets, so I've been trying to figure out where we can mount the coils, what we can do with those. He dropped off a heap of other shit with the car to get it sorted. The exhaust that he had on the car, the gearbox, the converter, you know, tail shaft, cross member. Most of the stuff's here. There's a few things we've got to try and piece together and work out, and we've ordered a heap of stuff this morning. So that's pretty much what we've been going through. He's got the VZ radiator there. So yeah, it's been a lot of work just to sort of figure out what exactly this thing needs and what we need to buy to make it all work the way he wants to work. So first off the bat, He's just got some HSV headers with some stock cats, and they're 2 1/4 inch. Like they're 4:1 to 2 1/4 and 2 1/4 stock cats, and it's just not going to cut it for what this thing's going to do. So we're trying to get on to Black Ops Performance, who built the exhaust that is on my Statesman. We absolutely love the sound of that exhaust, and we would really, really like to put one of those systems on this car. So we're trying to get on to order one of those. The gearbox is supposedly meant to be a built 4L60. We don't expect it to last long. The owner's all across about the fact that he doesn't expect it to last long, particularly with the way he drives. But we've just gone to we're at a point where it's time to start getting the box and motor into the car. We've worked out done enough with the engine bay and the shell that it's time for the motor and box to go in, so that we can start working around that and continuing on the project. But because the gearbox, we don't know how long it's been sitting for, we don't know who built it, who did it, it had no dipstick in it and nothing plug in the dipstick hole, so we really wanted to check the pan, make sure the oil was clean, make sure it was clean inside before it went in the car. And Rex straight up found a heap of this swarf in the input shaft seal. This is what came out of the input shaft seal, and if you have a look behind the input shaft seal, because you can see in there, because the seal seals on the converter snout. It doesn't, so there's plenty of room you can see inside. And the bush that holds the snout of the converter and the bush that it runs on to drive the pump is cooked. That's where that swarf's come from. So that bush is already wrecked. So that's not a good start for this thing. So we needed to get the seal out to have a good look at what that bush is doing and pull the bush out. Unfortunately, to do that, you've got to get the bell housing off. We've gone to get the bell housing off, and the bolts were done up to about 120 million foot-pounds, and one of them stripped the head. So now that's what the boys are doing, having fun, trying to get the bell housing off the gearbox so that we can properly inspect that bush and figure out what the hell's going on, and try and get it sorted so that we can get this thing in the car. So at the moment, we are super busy. We've got a lineup of cars outside. We've been smacking through King Barra. I haven't been filming much of a lot. There's going to be a lot of just holes in the content. It's probably a good thing, honestly, because hopefully it speeds up the content for you guys, just for how fast things are happening, and hopefully it'll limit my babbling, which I'm trying to do a fair bit. But we really need to get this thing mostly together. It's just been painted, so it's not the sort of car that we want to put outside. But that being said, we can't have it in here taking up room with how much we have going on right now. So we're really trying to get this sorted ASAP so that we can get it running and at least be able to drive it and move it around and get it out of the way so we can move on to the next thing. So anyway, see how the boys go. We're going to duck off. We'll see what they're happening when I come back. Rightio guys, so confirmed, bush is cooked. Absolutely cooked. So order a new bush and seal, but it's going to be a few days, which means we can't get this in the car ASAP. So it's already gone back out undercover, and we already got started on the next thing, which is the VF. So it's done our pre-runs, and we'll pull the motor out of that, and we'll continue on with the clubby once we get those parts back and get that 4L60 sorted. Rightio guys, so we've got the clubby back inside. Take two. With we received the parts for the gearbox that we purchased, which we were hoping obviously would fix our issues and we could then continue getting the car together. We've also ordered a new exhaust system, which will be here soon as well. So a lot of exciting stuff going on with this Clubsport, but this, not so much exciting. So started digging into exactly what was going on with this bush, why it was damaged, and what Rex has sort of found. As you can see, this is about not where you want to be on a 4L60 when you're supposed to be getting it in the car. But what Rex has found is that the converter that's been supplied is actually damaged. So the
Spout.
drive, the
Spouts,
engage,
they call it.
Yeah, the spout, yeah. Is that what they actually call it?
Yep, that's what Lindsay called it when I was talking to him before on the phone.
Nice. Well, there you go. Learn something new every day. Regardless, where this is meant to engage the pump and drive the pump is actually damaged. We've done some measuring. It's not round, so it's somehow been damaged at some point, and this is what damaged that bush in the gearbox. Was someone was trying to force this converter in there, and because it's out of round and it's got some sharp bits on it there, it basically just chewed the crap out of it.
Trying to twist it to get it to go in, and those, yeah, like you said, those sharp edges have just chewed the heck out of it. Where is that bush, Bo? Now that it's out, you can sort of see. So yeah, that was the back side, but you can see that was what we could see, and all that swarf that we found was from that front lip, and you can see that that's what, you know, someone's tried to force it in and been fucking doing the old twisteroo. And
yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. No idea how this would have got damaged like that, but
That's why I said to Bo, I haven't come across this problem before. I mean, like, I don't know, if a pump seized, could be something stupid, as like someone's dropped it. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Either way, not good. Not going to work.
It's not going to fit.
Which means that, well, yeah, this isn't what you want, and it means that it delays the red car even further again, which means we pushed it inside for nothing.
Well, I can still do the fuel system and some other bits, but yeah, it's... Boy.
So yeah, very, very frustrating, because, you know, this delays other cars that were meant to be getting done. Like, it just, these delays knock on because of our situation of our working conditions. But anyway, it is what it is. Just dealing the best with what we got. But how's Bo here, just rebuilding a gearbox casually? Is there anything you can't do, mate?
Oh, anything with wood. No carpenter, that's for sure.
No carpenter. Yeah. Oh well.
So you can see that clearly. That's the actual pump. You can see that
Yep.
that does not want to get. If I can force that on there, but it's very, very tight. But if we come across to this one, which is the converter that came out of the Tough Stato,
Bonk.
that's how it should work. And we found the same with the bush. The pump will just slides over this. It's got a couple of thou clearance, perfect, it's all good, but you cannot get it over that one.
We freaking are. Nothing ever just works.
No, nothing's ever simple. Nothing's ever easy.
Anyway, it's just frustrating. One of those things that, you know, it's not really foreseeable. It's likely no one's fault. No idea.
Someone knew, because they tried to put this converter in this
Yeah,
box,
well, that's
and
true.
it didn't happen. And then they were like, "Oh, man, bloody, let's just sell it." I assume that's what happened.
We assume. Anyway, we're still left to deal with it. Rightio, guys. So the deal is the converter's getting fixed. I'm not sure if we covered that in the last little clip, but converter is getting fixed. The boys have been smacking on through continuing with what we can, which would be the fuel system. Have a look at this beautiful piece of art Rex has done. So all hard lines, one of our, you've seen these in frickin' just about every car we put a fuel system in gets one of these. That's just so good. So yeah, all hard lines, filter, reusable filter, reg at the back here, so it's deadhead from here up. And yeah, what fuel pump ended up in this one?
Just a 540 or 525.
525, yep.
Whatever the Wildbro is. The TI, sorry.
T Automotive, yep. So yeah.
Same fuel pump we're using that.
Yep. So yeah, just be a big dog, E85, lots of pump for some spicy future stuff. So yeah, fuel system's just about ready.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy with how that came out. It's awesome. I love doing stuff like that. This looks sick.
Oh well,
Should
now
be
you
good.
can move on to doing it on that one.
Yeah.
All right, big 6 litres back out of the engine room. So we have finally got our torque converter back. It has been fixed. Big thank you to our people down there at As New Transmissions Products in Salisbury, but it should be sorted out, ready to go in the gearbox.
I'm going to test fit that in a minute.
Test fit that, make sure it's all sorted. So hopefully our converter's sorted, which means we can finally get this car together. So third time lucky, third time's the charm. Third go at getting this all in the car, hopefully we'll be right. So at the moment, we've got our new Black Ops Performance exhaust system. So you guys know I had one of these on my WK Statesman and I absolutely loved how it sounded. It sounded so good. So this system is slightly different to the one I had on the Statesman, just because of what we could get hold of and what they had in stock. So it's not exactly the same, it is slightly different, but still really, really excited to be putting a Black Ops system on this car, just because I really, really, really like how they sound. Yeah, very unique sounding. So this thing being so high comp on E85 with this exhaust, I really think that this Club Sport's going to sound very unique, just like the Statesman did, and I'm excited. I'm here for it. So anyway, first thing we're gonna do is double check our fitment on these heads with the headers. So we're just gonna fit the headers up and just make sure there's no issues with fitment as far as getting plugs and plug leads and plug lead boots on them. These heads have been a little bit funny, and the last full exhaust system we did on that VF, we had some issues with plug boot leads. That was a different brand. Not that I particularly think anything like that is brand specific. It is literally just mass produced aftermarket products. There are fitment issues, it just happens. It's no, you know, not bad mouthing any brands or anything like that. It just literally just happens. It's just a consequence of mass-produced products.
Ooh, look at that. Real nice. So these are the same headers that I had on the Statesman, and I think that is what gave it that unique sound. So they're 1 7/8, 4-into-1 long tube, but they're actually mild steel. So they're not a stainless header. They're a mild steel, like a pacemaker or similar. And
I really think they give it that really deep, throaty note, whereas I think stainless, because it's such a harder material, you get a lot more of that tinny, raspy sort of sound. So I'm pretty sure what ended up happening is we were able to get the mild steel headers, but I think the exhaust might have ended up being stainless just because they didn't have any mild in stock, I think. I'll have to go back and double check what the order was, because it was ordered a fair while ago now, but yeah.
Look how good they look there. So, big ups to Black Ops Performance. These covers as well, these covers are from Tremaniac Racing, so huge thanks to our boys out at Tremaniac. These are really, really well priced covers. So most aftermarket CNC, like billet valve covers for LSs
are really, really expensive, but these ones from Tremaniac are actually really, really reasonably priced. So, and
this is the first set we've used, and we are really, really happy with them. So this thing just looks hot. They're good. So the owner wants to go, or has, as you can see, has bought like a full VZ radiator, wants to go all VZ radiator and everything to basically just hide out the engine bay a fair bit. You know, so your VT to VY have like a header tank, an expansion tank, and the VZ does not. And it does just make the engine bay quite a bit tighter, not having that up here on the side and stuff like that. So, but yeah, obviously without the expansion tank, you need a radiator that actually has a pressure cap, which the VZ does. Or I think so.
It will.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why you got to go VZ, like everything, to remove it. So, but there actually is quite a few more differences than we were expecting, and Rex has just sort of worked out how it's all going to fit and work.
Yeah, the way the condensers mount's completely different. So the early VTs had the VT-VX had the like the rubber donuts here, the feet on the bottom of the condenser, and just the rubber brackets there. The radiator just pushes against it. In the VY, it's the same condenser, as far as I can tell, but it has brackets on the side that bolt, that slot into those brackets on the other side of the VZ rad. The VY is actually the same as that, but the VY keeps this line, except the slight difference is that there's a soft bit from there to there. But that's all right, we can do that because the radiator hose is actually different on the VZ. So we're gonna have to bend that out of the way. But the VZ condenser was different, where I think that inlet at the top is actually a horizontal one that goes out like that and turns around as far as I can see. So it was a bit of a head fuck to figure out which condenser we actually need for this setup. I'm pretty sure a VY one will work because it's got this port in the same spot. Well, slightly different. It's that same port, but it's around the front here because this condenser actually moves back because it clips into the radiator now instead of sitting forward. So as far as I can tell, that should stay in the exact same spot that it was. It's just that the condenser moves back, and so that port on the condenser comes around the front. I think that's how it's all going to work. Then there's just a little bit of massaging to get that out of the way, and these lines hit that bottom outlet. I'm just going to bend them down. Other than that, it should be all good. So then, as you're aware, VZ, you need VZ hoses because they're completely different, and a VZ overflow bottle, which we have, which should bolt up underneath. It should just bolt straight in because, what do we work out, Bo, that the early
V6.
The V6s in this model, they had the overflow. So everything's there, you just got to bolt it in, and then the filler neck just sticks up there. So I did have to make some adjustments to the holes to get the radiator to sit right, though. Seems like the center distance between that and that is slightly wider on the VZ. So you do have to do a little bit of
Attitude adjustment.
yeah, to make it fit. Then we've got the next problem, which is going to be later, is the VZ has a six pin plug, is different to the way that these other ones were wired. It's not a big of a problem anyway, because as you can see, someone done, gone, and butchered.
We're going to need to fix the wiring anyway.
Out of this wiring anyway. So yeah, it's probably not that much harder just to
Do what we've got to do.
rewire it to suit the VZ fans and be done with it. So yeah, a bit of fucking around, but it'll work. It'll work.
So yeah, there's actually a fair bit of work in converting to all this VZ stuff. It's not as simple as just buy the VZ stuff and chuck it in. Oh, look at that. That looks bloody hot. I like
Shit
it.
hot, mate.
I really like these covers. I'll start putting them on everything. Alright, so the boys are cracking on with this, getting it together. So one thing that we have been worried about this from the very beginning, if you can see up there, was a solution for an intake. So because it's got the Holley high rise, obviously we would really ideally like to put an OTR on it, but the Holley high rise is so much higher than a stock manifold. Like your general VCM OTRs and stuff, they just don't fit. There's not really any way to make them work. So there are options that we can put like just another airbox on it off some different cars, which we'll talk about later. But before we commit to buying one of those, I sort of wanted to just try and have a go at basically, you know, starting with what the VCM OTR is and trying to sort of modify and develop something that would work. Because these are a very popular manifold. So, you know, if we could actually build an OTR that would suit these cars, like the VCM ones, are fairly generically universal to fit Commodores, but fit them with these manifolds, these intake manifolds. Well, that would be really, really handy. So I just downloaded an app on my phone, which is meant to be like a 3D scan app, and I've tried to give it a scan. So we'll just wait to see how that comes back. Hopefully it comes back okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just need to be able to base some critical dimensions off what this is and hopefully be able to modify it in Fusion and potentially print our own OTR to suit, which would be really, really cool if we could do that. Now, obviously, it's gonna have to be in multiple pieces because our print bed is not big enough to print a whole OTR like that, but that's fine. It can be a split design that bolts together. That'd be fine for us as well. So anyway, we'll see what we can do. It might not work, it might work. I just thought we'd give it a go because I like doing this sort of stuff. It really, really tickles my fancy. All right, guys. So, pretty exciting stuff, I must admit. This has gotten out of hand pretty quick, and what a steep learning curve this has been. This has not been an easy part to draw, but regardless, about 3 hours, and I've managed to get this done, which honestly, I'm like, I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I'm very impressed. And if this works out, that's just ridiculous, and it's ridiculously cool, and I'm very, very happy about it. So anyway, I downloaded an app called, what was the app called? It was called the Trinio, T-R-N-I-O, and that allows you to do like a scan, like a 3D scan. So I scanned the old VCM, managed to export it and get it into Fusion, and start from there as a bit of a base, scale it correctly, all the rest. So hold on, I'm just trying to get this sorted out. Oh, so this is what it looks like when you scanned it, when it's been scanned and into there. So pretty good idea of like just the shape and the general critical dimensions. And then from there you start, you know, sketching and getting your right dimensions and stuff and starting to actually extrude what's going to be the piece. And from all of that, I ended up with this. So obviously because of our print bed, we'd have to print half at a time and then join them together. So this is, again, this is basically version 1. So there may be a lot of, you know, modifications to do to this to make it better, but at least it's somewhere to start from. And I've designed it to work with the same filter element as the VCM one. I haven't checked, but I assume that you should be able to buy replacement filters for your VCM OTR. So I thought it makes most sense just to build to suit that filter element, because we should be able to just buy one. So that's your half. Basically, yeah, print that, mirror it, print it again, and then bolt it together. Well, you got 5 bolts to bolt it together, and your 4-inch outlet. So yeah, happy days. So if you compare it to this one, so you can see the difference there in the angle of the intake, where it sits compared to where the VCM one does. So the idea is obviously that points up much closer to our high-rise manifold. But yeah, so might get this pretty much ready for print. You know, obviously it's not the prettiest, as you can see. It's definitely not the best piece around. It's not the best looking, etc, etc. But you know, like I said, I'm new to this. I'm pretty excited, so I might just try like these lines. I might just try and smooth them a bit and get this a bit more of a rounder shape. But yeah, overall, considering that I'm sort of self-taught on this program and I haven't been using it for very long, and admittedly I'm not very good at it, I'm pretty impressed with the fact that I've been able to do this. So it's exciting stuff. So anyway, we'll get this sorted, slice it, and get it in the print. See how it goes. I must say that my my poor old computer is absolutely not coping with trying to do this sort of scale of 3D design work. The poor old thing. Alright, so it's going to be a very long print, and this is only just for the one half of it. But yeah, we'll print half, we'll see how it fits. As long as it looks like it's going to fit alright and it's pretty good. We'll have a chat to our boys down there at Sunny Coast Makerspace and Clueless Creations that we've been working with for a lot of the stuff for the HQ. And we'll probably get them to print it out of something that's probably going to be a bit better suited than PLA. You know, PLA for something that's going to be moderately hot, as well as, you know, a fair bit of suction going on. It's probably not the best material, but for prototyping and getting it to fit, this is going to be sweet. But yeah, we'll talk to them boys about actually printing one properly out of some better material. Righto, so while I spent most of my afternoon trying to sort out that OTR setup and get it started to print and 3D drawn and stuff, a lot of time. The boys smashed along with this. As you can see, it's looking freaking awesome, but we are going to have to get the throttle cable and cruise control cable for the throttle relaxer extended because they don't reach because of the high rise, so that's something we're going to have to look at doing.
Just the throttle cable.
Just the throttle cable?
Well, the throttle relaxer stays where it is. It's just the throttle cable.
Alright. Well, it's got to get sent away to get modified anyway, so that's going to cause a bit of a delay for us. As you can see, we've got our V6 overflow bottle, which is to suit the VZ setup because we no longer have a recovery tank. So overflow bottle goes down underneath the inner guard there and pokes up. It's all nice and hidden, and that's to suit all the VZ stuff. But yeah, she's coming along, smacking through. Rec's going to remake this crossover fuel line that came with it. It did come with one, but we weren't very happy with it.
I hate it.
Yeah,
I really hate it.
The way a lot of the stuff for this engine came, the way a lot of things happened with this engine and the way it came to us, we weren't very happy with. So that's something that's getting remade. So got to remake that crossover.
My next job is to rejig this wiring to suit the VZ fans because they're a different
plug,
slightly different setup. As you can see though, someone has already
had a good crack at it.
Yeah, done whatever. Anyway, in the bin with a lot of it, stud. It's terrible.
Anyway, we've got to set up a catch can setup as well off our beautiful Tremaniac covers. I really like these covers. They're so nice. And have you decided where you're going to mount the coil packs yet?
Yeah, they're mounted.
Oh, where are they?
Down there. Probably really hard to see now, the engineer.
Probably. I don't even know where you pointed. You got it's chicken crimpy. That's all I can see.
Follow the chicken crimpy though. It's up under here. It's touching a coil right now.
Oh yeah, I see.
Chicken crimpy
Oh yeah,
coil.
down underneath that heater tap.
And then there's...
Oh yeah,
over there.
I see. Nice, so that's where the...
Coils are remote mounted. So yeah, hidden coils, yeehaw, it's all coming along. Anyway guys, I think that's enough for an episode. I was just gonna do this whole car as one big episode, but so much has happened since it started.
It's turned into a really big episode.
Yeah, so much has happened since it started. I think this video on its own is probably going to be already super duper long, and there's still so much to cover and get done. Especially now we're doing custom stuff for it as well. So we'll see you on the next episode of this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you smash like, smash subscribe so you don't miss anything. Go and join our Patreon. We do giveaways every month for our Patreons. You know, there's all sorts of cool stuff. Also, full access to us. You can swing us messages on Patreon about anything you like, tuning, whatever. We're an open book for people that support us and actually, you know, support the channel in that way. So yeah, happy to answer any questions for those people. So anyway, thanks for watching as always. Peace out. We'll see you in the next one. See you, bye.